We spend a lot of time talking about the signs of low intelligence. But what if we just flip that on its head? What are the actual repeatable habits that brilliant minds use to solve really, really big problems? Well, today, we're going to break down 4 of them. And we're starting with a story that literally changed the world.
To really get our heads around the first habit, we've got to go back in time. We need to put ourselves in the shoes of a brilliant teenager who was pushed right to his absolute limit.
Okay, so picture this. You're Demis Hassabis, you're just 13 years old, and you are surrounded by legends, these guys in their 30s, who have dedicated their entire lives to chess. I mean, they see the board 20 moves ahead, they live and breathe this game, and you're right there with them, the second best under 14 player on the entire planet. Your opponent, a former Danish champion. The match has no time limit, and it's been dragging on for 10 agonizing hours. You are completely fried, mentally and physically. And then you see it, a path to victory. But it's a huge risk. It means sacrificing your most powerful piece, your queen. But you're just done. You can't think straight anymore. So you do it. You resign. You just give up.
So you stand up, and your opponent just starts laughing. He's thrilled. You resigned? He says, "You fool, you could have won." And in that one instant, boom, a switch just flips in your brain. Suddenly, the loss doesn't matter at all. Something way bigger just clicked into place.
Demis looks around the room at all these geniuses, all this incredible brain power just laser-focused on a 64-square board. And he asks himself this profound question: is this really the best use of human intelligence? That day, he walked away from a future as a chess grandmaster because he decided he wanted to play a much, much larger game.
And that right there, that brings us to the very first habit. It's the ability to do exactly what Demis did in that moment, to zoom out and see the whole landscape. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about quitting when things get tough. It's about having the clarity to step back and ask, is the mountain I'm climbing the right mountain? Brilliant minds are never afraid to completely change course when they realize their path doesn't lead where they ultimately want to go. And get this, 30 years after quitting chess, Demis Hassabis won a Nobel Prize. Not for chess, but in chemistry, for solving a problem that had scientists stumped since the 1960s. But here's the thing. To see the big picture, you first have to understand the little patterns that create it. So let's go back even further in Demis's life to see how this second habit got started. Picture him now. He's just 4 years old. He knows the basic moves his dad taught him, and he wanders into a park and starts playing against this local club player, a guy who's been playing for years. And of course, the 4-year-old gets absolutely crushed. I mean, game after game for months straight.
Now, this is the really interesting part. What would most of us ask in that situation? We'd probably focus on ourselves, right? Like, why am I so bad at this? But Demis, he didn't do that. He asked a fundamentally different question. You see, he wasn't focused on the result, the fact that he was losing. He became totally obsessed with the process. Why did his opponent make that move? What was he thinking? What was the invisible system he was using? He was hunting for the hidden pattern. And this is just so brilliant because that same childhood obsession is the exact thinking that led him to create AlphaGo decades later. The AI that beat the world champion at the game of Go by playing Move 37. A move so original, so creative, that it had never been seen in the game's entire 3,000-year history. So the key here is that this isn't some kind of superpower. It's a habit of curiosity. It's about constantly asking, wait, why is this happening? And then connecting the dots to see the system that's working underneath it all. All right, let's keep building on this. Once you can spot the patterns, the next big challenge is explaining them to other people. And this brings us to our third habit, the relentless, almost obsessive pursuit of simplicity. So, let's jump to the 1800s. London is in the grip of a terrifying cholera epidemic. This number, 127, that's how many people died in a single neighborhood on a single day. The main theory at the time, it was caused by bad air from the sewers. But one doctor just wasn't buying it. Dr. John Snow decided to ignore all the complicated theories and just look at the raw data. He took a map of the neighborhood and he put a single black dot on it for every single person who had died. And soon, this undeniable pattern started to emerge. Almost all the dots were clustered right around one spot, the Broad Street water pump. He didn't write some long, boring report. He just showed the map to the city council. They saw the pattern immediately, removed the pump handle, and just like that, the death stopped.
This very same principle of radical simplicity is a huge deal today.
A former McKinsey consultant, Barbara Minto, noticed that these super long, detailed reports just confused everybody. So she created something called the pyramid principle. Instead of slowly building up to your conclusion, you state it right at the top. You just say, "We will raise prices," and then you give your supporting reasons. It's so clear, so direct, and people get it instantly.
It's really the art of cutting through all the noise. See, brilliant communicators don't make you work to understand them. They do the hard work of taking something complex and making it simple, so their message lands with incredible force and clarity. But here's the twist. Simplicity on the surface often comes from a really deep understanding of the details underneath. And this leads us to our final and maybe the most crucial habit of them all.
It all starts with something we've all experienced. An engineer, George Demestral, comes back from a walk, and he's picking dozens of those sticky little burrs off his jacket and out of his dog's fur. Most of us would just get annoyed and throw them away, but Demestral, he did something totally different.
That simple question actually kept him up at night. I mean, think about it. There's no glue, no sticky stuff. So how does this tiny little seed from a plant manage to cling so tightly to fabric? He was just totally captivated by this tiny, seemingly insignificant detail.
So what does he do? He puts one under a microscope. And what he saw wasn't just some prickly ball. No, it was this marvel of natural engineering. The whole surface was covered in thousands of tiny, perfect little hooks, each one curved at the end like a miniature fishhook. That was the secret.
That one observation, that total mastery of a crucial detail, it sparked a 10-year journey of experimentation. And after tons and tons of failures, he finally perfected a synthetic version using nylon. And in 1955, he was granted the patent for what we now call Velcro, a technology that's used everywhere from our shoes all the way to NASA's spacesuits.
So there you have it, 4 really powerful habits. It starts with seeing the big picture to make sure you're even on the right path. Then it's about uncovering the hidden patterns that control that path. After that, you simplify those patterns so you can explain them clearly. And finally, you master the crucial details that make the whole thing work. And the best part about all this, these aren't gifts you're born with. They are skills, they are habits that you can actually cultivate. So the real question isn't whether you can do it, it's where are you going to start? Which one of these habits will you choose to focus on and build first?